Welcome to the Chiropractors Edge podcast. I am your host, Dr. Jake Hansen. Doc, there are countless things that you need to be present for, your team needs to be present for, face-to-face with in your practice, countless interactions with your practice members. And there are countless things that are destroying your connection and experience you are cultivating with your team and your practice members by doing them. That is why we have teamed up with Cory Pinegar, CEO of Teems. Teems is a virtual assistant company that is offline, but very much involved in your practice, taking everything that shouldn't be done in your practice off your plate so you and your team can focus on what matters most, the people and interactions in front of you. I am pleased to welcome Teems and CEO Cory to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So, you guys, we're gonna do a little intro for Cory here, and as you know, we say no far more than we say yes to anyone who wants to join our group, especially anyone who wants to sponsor or affiliate with us. So why did we say yes to Cory? So I hear you guys, I ask questions and I receive hundreds of messages. You know, I know I talk to most of you. We do a lot of coaching together. We talk together. Some of the questions I always ask is, Doc, when do I know who to hire? And a lot of things I hear, I say, okay, so you don't need to hire anyone else. That needs to be just delegated across the 3 people you already have. Or why would you create that? There's a vertical over here that is set up. So one of the things that we love about Teem, so they are a virtual assistant company who is able to solve so many of your problems. Number one, when people are calling to schedule, if they're not picking up correct, if they're not picking up, if it's after hours, before hours, there are so many times where in my practice, we have the phone ringing. We have 2 phone lines and they're ringing 24 hours a day. And we also have a very, very, very busy practice. I don't want my team to be on the phone, especially if it's someone who has a lot of questions that the team is going to be skilled to answer. I would much rather have my team focus on people who are already in front of us. And that is one of the things that Cory and his team solve for us. So we're going to talk about what type of position should you be hiring out for and how Cory solves that, which inevitably gives you more time, gives you more freedom, makes you a lot of money. And I can't wait for you to hear about his mission and how we started up Teem. So let's dive into your story here, because a lot of the docs in our group, we are very on purpose docs. We want to be sure that we are supporting companies that support chiropractic and who hold the same core values that we do, and who also truly are all about people before protocols, people before profits. And that's exactly what Teems is set up. So if you wouldn't mind, share with us how Teems came to be, where you actually get your over 19,000 employees and what you do that lights you up, man.
Yeah, no, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here today. We're, newer in the chiropractic space. I've spent my whole working career in healthcare so far. I love it. I love the consistency behind it too. And I just want to take a note of something you said really early on when you were introducing what we were going to talk about today. You said there's so many phone calls that go missed. Well, when we were looking at what vertical as a company do we want to chase next, where can we make an impact? We actually went out there and pulled 1.1 million total phone calls from chiropractic practices across the United States.
Wow.
And we looked at during business hours, that 9 to 5, 8 to 5, what percentage of those phone calls go unanswered. And 28.5% of all calls during business hours go unanswered. And
Wow.
So what I want to talk about today, we are not here, just to be clear, to replace the front desk. We cannot. You
Right.
need that relationship at the front desk. You need someone you know. But in dentistry and audiology and chiropractic, something that is beaten to almost a pulp is new patients, new patients, new patients for growth. And that is correct. But what I say all the time is if we're putting water through a hose and then we have holes along the way, only half of the water is going to come out on the other side. And so if you're creating a ton of goodwill, collateral, and marketing in your neighborhood, and they're calling into that practice, and you're not picking up, you're not operating as efficiently, you're not maximizing your opportunity, and you're not building that goodwill in the community. So our goal is to provide amazing team members to help with that.
So I want to talk about two parts of that then, actually. So docs, many of you, most of you here have $1 million practices at a minimum and upwards. So the number was about 28%, give or take, right? Doc, what's 28% of $1 million? Okay, you're looking at 250, 300,000 and change. Now there are people's lives not being affected because of that, and that's cash in your pocket. That's absolutely, I mean, that's absolutely absurd. The other thing is multitasking. We know for a fact that multitasking does not work. You need to be sure the wealthiest people on planet Earth do not multitask. We all want to say we're good at multitasking, but when we actually look at it, what actually got done, when someone is in front of your team member, your CA, your office manager, your patient concierge, when someone is in front of them, that should be the most important person. And if your phone is ringing, that's awesome. If it's not, we will also talk to you about ways that where we can increase that. But so multitasking, you have to kill this right out of the gate. 28%, that's massive. And then what was after hours? What was
after hours is continued. There's calls on Saturday or Sunday, but oftentimes, and the reason I said during hours is there's this misconception that I need an after hours answering service. After hours pales in comparison to not or missing less calls during hours. So once you really nail that 9 to 5 component, yes, you have additional capital, you have additional gain outside of that. But so many times we get calls saying, hey, I need help with after hours. You've got so much gold sitting right behind you, but you're trying to point ones that are a mile away. People don't realize how much potential is in their practice. Here's a fact that's within healthcare. If a dental practice does $1 million a year, it actually diagnoses $2.4 million of dentistry that is not completed. Dental practices, just like chiropractic practices, just like audiology practices, operate incredibly inefficient. And that's not a stress on the doctor. That's not a stress on the front desk. It's because there's so few people who wear so many hats. And so how can we come in and provide one more dedicated team member that's cost effective and dedicated so that there's less stress and also more potential for the practice?
That's massive. That's huge. You know, I was just talking to a doc last night, one of the docs in our group, very, very, very prominent in the kids with neurodevelopmental disorders world. And it was amazing. As just talking to her, she had said, you know, we've had VAs, virtual assistants, we've had people in some of our other businesses, but not in my brick and mortar. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And we started talking, like there's this saying, like, when is the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago, right? 15, 20 years ago. I don't understand why I haven't done this now, because I keep hearing what you guys are saying. What's the most important thing? It's the person in front of you, the patient in front of you. Like, I do not allow my docs to have their cell phones on them. Anything that's going to cause distracting or multitasking, I want them focused on the patient, which is why every single year we've been open, we've been voted best of the best in every single category. Why? Because we focus on the person in front of us. And that is one of the massive skill sets that Cory and his teams is trained on. They are compassionate. They know exactly what, and they'll be able to talk in a way that the person calling doesn't know that they're not sitting at your front desk. They're going to be
part of the team.
Yeah, part of the team, using your lingo, using your vernacular, your branding, all that will be trained. And that will allow you to be able to have more time to be able to do the other things you do. And again, we're a team of 10. We're going to probably most likely, as time goes on, we're probably going to need 3 VAs in order to do all the work. And there's a ton of work that needs to be done physically in the practice. There is a mountain of work that should never be done in your practice. So that's awesome. So I want to talk to you about your core values here, because that was one of the things, again, that a lot of our docs in our group are very passionate about, is finding someone who shares our core values. Share with us where you actually hire the people that work on teams and how that kind of came to be. I mean, because that was actually one of the deciding. Once I saw the track record and did some research with our buddy Glenn Vo, we love Glenn. And he's the developer of Nifty Thrifty Dentist, and incredible, massive giant in the dental world. But he had shared with me, and he said, "Hey, I don't talk to you often about sponsors or about people, but when he does, I turn my head and I listen and I research." And this literally this sold me. On top of that, how did this come to be, and what do you do?
Yeah. So we have relationships with US universities. I went to BYU myself years ago, and Brigham Young University, along with others, actually allow students in Latin America and other parts of the globe to attend their courses virtually. So it's the same economics, it's the same writing, math classes that are taken, but they're attending virtually. They're getting that level of education. They're also getting acclimated, and I think that this is something that's missed often, to US culture. So they understand what timeliness is to us. They understand how we can communicate. And since they have that 4-year backing, also with a very significant US education, once they graduate, we have a relationship with BYU Pathways, where then we get access to those people, and then we help place them with healthcare practices. Now, beyond that, that's great, but we also pay them in the top 20 to 25% of pay for their entire country. So we try to hire the creme de la creme, so that you've got someone who sticks with you for a long time, and also someone who's thoroughly engaged. We are not here as a VA company, just to be really blunt, to be another company that you can't understand and isn't engaged and just does a cheap, poor job. That's everything that we're against. We are about frontline team members that fill entry-level roles in the United States that are incredibly bought in, incredibly dedicated, and they also are paid well. And so it is not about how do you rob Peter to pay Paul. We are able to come in as a cost-effective, about a half or a third of doing business or having staff in the United States. But in doing so, you also get an amazing, reliable team member who is going to be with you for 3 to 5 to 10 years. And because of that, your business just operates smoother because it's consistent.
Wow. I love that you guys are teaching people how to be self-reliant. I lived in Mexico abroad for several years, and people just want an opportunity. They want an opportunity. They're willing to work. They're willing to work hard. They're willing to learn, but they just need an opportunity. And this is the opportunity you're giving them. And what a fulfilling opportunity for them to understand that they solved people's problems. And the compassion that is also trained and instilled in these team members is incredible to hear. To be able to hear some of the conversations, because again, they're members of your team. They're not just, as a lot of you docs know, I preach heavily on your first patient phone call, of that first phone call that comes in. We teach on how to communicate, questions to be asked. If someone's going to take the time to call you, number one, you better stink and answer that phone. You better have someone to answer it. There's other systems involved that we can talk to you about, but that's massive. But being able to be trained to talk in the right way, because some people are calling to ask questions. That training will be able to be instilled so that these things can happen. I mean, this is just, it's absolutely beautiful. So what would you say, Cory, are the biggest problems that you guys are now solving for chiropractors? What are the biggest things that you've noticed that we absolutely love? What are some of those biggest problems?
I think it's de-stressing the number of hats that are worn in individual practices. There's treatment plans behind the scenes. Is the patient coming in every week over their 10 or 20 prescribed visits, or are we falling out of compliance there? Once they're off that cycle, are we prescribing a new plan? Are we picking up those needed phone calls? There's so many things that grab our attention every day. The patient that walks in the door, the chair that needs to be replaced, the family members that need to be seen after 5 p.m. But there's so many systems behind it all that often fall to the wayside. And so if you can keep those humming below it all, the phone's answered. And guess what? When the phone is answered, a patient, when they're in pain, they know, hey, I'm going to call Dr. Hansen's practice because they always pick up. Massive. And so it's building those simple systems. We're not coming in here as the head of your marketing program. We're not coming in to provide strategy. There is a book that it talks about rock stars and superstars. Superstars are someone who grow and accelerate and want growth within a practice. The team members that we're providing here are rock stars. They're stable, they're fully engaged, and they own their role, and they're honored to own and fulfill their role. And that just provides additional stability going forward, where the practice can be less stressful. Because something that's often not talked about in brick and mortar healthcare is you're the head of clinical affairs and you're the CEO of your practice at the same time. That is stressful. Yeah. CEOs of another business, guess what? That's their only job. And so how do we also provide the infrastructure without financially constraining the practice, where it can be less stressful? Because so many times people take those tasks home because they don't have the financial budget. They don't have the ability to maybe move to that role next. So how do we be cost effective and reliable and find those inefficiencies so that the practice provides better service, which leads to more production, more revenue, and happy team members?
Yes. It's very interesting. As the more I study, business and it literally comes down to, there's an old school saying ABCs, right? Always be closing, right? The thing of today is everyone for 2023 and above and beyond is ABS, always be solving. If you can solve people's problems, they will pay you gladly for that. We just had a lady today that said, listen, we are moving in about 2 months. And I have so many things going on. We already knew that about her. We knew that they were moving. So we created a very specific plan, very specific time frames. She has a brand new baby. So we have a team member dedicated to her baby. So she came in and I said, awesome. I know you're moving soon. So here's how we're going to handle this. I rattled everything we were doing for her. She said, oh my gosh, like those are my only reasons why I couldn't do care. That's fantastic. Paid for it in cash, ready to go. Solving people's problems, right? So we have a lot of students who are getting ready to graduate or just starting right now. As you look into either doing your own practice or associating for a period of time, always be solving problems. You walk into a practice and a lot of these practice owners have golden handcuffs. They've been doing something for 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, 25 years, and it's what they know, and it's not efficient. And you'll be able to bring these strategies. Hey, why do we not have a virtual assistant? Why do we not have these things offloaded over here so that you can take that extra hat off? Or number one, your team loves the system because it makes their life better. When you hear your team say, again, we have so many incredible sponsors of our group, then I love it when I'm talking to a practice or one of the people that we coach or people in the group, they say, I absolutely love X, Y, and Z. So we've already heard several times within our group, I wish the tree analogy, I wish I'd have known Cory, I wish I'd have known Teams 10 years ago. I don't know why, because this has always been an option. And it's interesting how many have used VAs and some have had a phenomenal experience and some haven't. We have some that already have VAs for parts of the business and they're only looking here because of the problems that he solved. So always be solving problems. That is one of the best things that you can do. So let's go over all of the actual verticals the options and the problems that you guys solve. So obviously training them to be part of, like you said, to be part of your team, because again, that's massive for me. Months ago, before you and I met, I just coached against somebody because I said, listen, I did research on the company, and this would be detrimental to you. You have a very specific brand, a very specific voice. This would not do it. And it's kind of what you had said. It's a different person every single time. English is not their first language, which is okay. We have several team members who English is their first language, but they can articulate themselves. They can speak to where the patient can understand them. So let's go over all the benefits that you guys have that then solve the chiropractor's problem to give them more time, finances, and freedom.
Yeah. So when we sit down for our discovery call with different docs, we're actually going in and saying, what's the pain points that we're looking to solve here? I had a call with a chiropractor late last week where his pain points were around marketing. And so he was looking for a part-time person who could come in and get those posts up, engage with people on social media. And since we have such a large pool through these university programs, today we have over 50,000 active people that we have the ability to pick from. So this is not, hey, I want to hire someone. Great, we're going to pull the next person out of the line. I want to know, hey, we're going to do part-time because, hey, from 8 to 12 in the morning, we're just slammed and we need backup. Or I need full-time and I need someone who has done healthcare scheduling before. Or I want someone who's really good at the detailed side of admin tasks. So there's different roles within marketing, admin related assistant, and then also scheduling capabilities. We learn that. We learn the hours that you're looking. And then we also learn what type of personalities from a DISC assessment thrive in your practice. We then go out there because we have a large pool. We generally look through about 300 to 500 applicants per hire. We'll have our recruiters interview 30 to 50. And then we bring the practice, the 3 to 5 that we know the hours are great. They've got the relevant experience. They align culturally and from a soft skills perspective. I want someone really bright and cheery. Well, let's bring those people. We bring the 3 to 5 that we think are the best of the best. And then the practices get to do that final interview. We only begin the process when you say, that's my Cinderella fit. This is not about providing a warm body. This is about providing someone who's going to be a part of the team for years to come. They just happen to live somewhere else, but they're fully engaged.
So that is massive. We just did another video on hiring and when to hire and who to hire. And we share, what do we share, docs, all the time? We share that the wrong time to hire is when you are so busy, you're coming home on a stretcher and you're exhausted. And it's like, great, now it's time to hire. You are going to hire the wrong person. You're going to hire someone, you're going to hire out of desperation. You're going to compromise. You're going to see things that are not there. You're going to bring on the right person. One of the docs that we're coaching right now, last year had 22 employees come in and leave. He had a ton of systems going on. He had a massive practice going on. So he has some personality issues, some pay structure issues, some training issues. But a big part of it was he was hiring the wrong people. He wasn't hiring people that had his core values, people that had his mission in mind, wasn't paying them. There's a lot of things. So that what you just said right there, what do we teach in the group, you guys? We always teach that wealthy-minded people will spend a lot of money to save time. Poor-minded people will spend a ton of time to save a little money. He just shared right then, everyone, again, and we're gonna have his information below. We're gonna be having a live Q&A within the next week or two, so you guys can ask a lot of questions, but everyone should be reaching out to Cory with your needs, with your pain points, because literally you have a need, reach out, and because you will spend a ton of time on all the websites, ton of time in interviews, group interviews, single interviews, when literally this is going to be set up for you. I mean, that's a massive, massive benefit. Again, solves for time and brings in, more likely than not, someone that you would have never found on your own through your own endeavors. I know it's going to be something that we look for now, which is fantastic.
And something that I just want to mention here, I'm a big believer in transparency, is our pricing. because I don't want anyone to feel like they have to go submit a form to figure out what it is. For a part-time person, whether it's in the scheduling or marketing or admin realm, we're $800 a month for 20 hours a week. And for a full-time person, we're $1,600. There's no payroll tax outside of that. We take care of that. They have options to healthcare on our side. Like, there is not a after tax fees. It's 800, it's 1,600, 800 for part-time, 1,600 for full-time. But I did want to mention that so that it's not a veil of, oh, what does it cost going forward? So that we can lead with pricing transparency. The only reason we went into this industry is because we know that there's inefficiencies, and that's a good thing. That's exciting because we can help with the right people take their careers and these practices to the next level. And that, as an entrepreneur, gets me really excited. Problems make me excited because it means if we're good now, we can be great going forward.
Absolutely. So many docs here. We have some students. We have a few docs in their first few years. We have docs that have been practicing over 30 years. And again, if you look at that ceiling, we see this in chiropractic, where why is it that you could get to, let's just talk visits as a generic. You get to 400 visits a week, 300 visits a week, and then you just sit there and hover there, and people are coming in and people are leaving. Why is that? You need to be able to have the right team members there in order to begin to mitigate stressors, so that this is a major problem that is not being solved. It's literally the definition of insanity. When I say, okay, so your goal is to get to, and we always teach about reverse engineering. What is it that you really want in life? I think it's sad when my buddy Dave Allred teaches that most people will spend more time in their lifetime planning a family vacation than they will be planning their actual life with what they want. So if you doc right now, what is it that you really want in life? You want to be fulfilled in practice. You want to love what you get to do, not what you have to do. And chiropractic is one of the greatest blessings to give people, is to give them, to liberate their nervous system. But what do you really want? What type of money do you want to have? What type of freedom do you want to have? And if you keep seeing that you're hitting these ceilings, there are major problems that you need to take a step back and bring someone else in to help you solve those problems. If not, you will never get there, or you will get there slowly. One of the things that I just spoke at Sherman, and I spoke on business exponentials. And if you do things on your own, it's a linear growth. You can grow as fast as you can run by yourself. Exponential growth is getting great people like Cory on board and teams on board, because not only do you have the right people on board, you have people that are trained and love to do what they are doing. It is not just a 9-to-5 that they're skipping around, bouncing around. It is a lottery that they have won, and they want to give you their absolute best. So that is something that I can't urge you enough to solve for time. Anything that solves for time. And if you spend time doing something, a mediocre minimum wage task, there's mountains of money that's just waiting to be claimed or that is being lost. So what are those minimum wage tasks? What are those maybe upper CA levels, chiropractic assistant levels, that should be getting dished off? So I want you writing these lists right now and think about that. A few years ago, our office manager, her dream was to go buy a bunch of land, live off the land with their family, and she made that happen. And so we had to really revamp our practice. And we realized right then, there is so much happening within the practice that should not be happening within the practice, that we have efficiencies we have things that we are now far more efficient because it's been dished out. Just imagine where we're going to be as we bring on roles like this, especially with people that care about this. I mean, it's an absolute major value add on so many aspects. One of the things that I love is, when I am out, Cory, I don't stress as much about the practice these days, because we've created incredible leaders, and I have an incredible team. Knowing that my team is taking care, not only we, like I used to say, hey, let's keep the boat afloat while I'm gone. And now it's, wow, look at the growth we had. Can you guys say that honestly about the teams you have right now? Can you honestly say that you have the team now that's going to get you the growth that you need? It may be time to let someone down. There's a book called Traction. If you haven't read Traction, every one of you need to read Traction. It teaches about how to hire on your core values, train on your core values, how to have the right people in the right seats. Right now, many of you do not have the right people in the right seat. You have the right person in the wrong seat with the right person. And in many cases, you don't have enough. And in many cases, you have the wrong people. And that's, again, another solution that Cory can bring to you at an incredible price point. So not only will you have a value out of the right person, but the cost on that, I mean, that's insane. I love that. We teach in our practices. If someone has to call and you say, oh, I can't tell you the price because of something, we know what our prices are. You guys know what your prices are. You do that. People, the wealthy-minded people are not going to jerk around. We need a water heater. Hey, how much is it? So I want this system. How much does it cost? Oh, I can't tell you till we get out there and see it. I'm like, why not? So you can try to, it's like, just tell me what the price is. Grant Cardone teaches us, right? So I love that transparency that shares a huge part of who you are. And that's someone that we want to do business with. I appreciate that.
No, it's been a pleasure here today. We're excited to partner with practices going forward. And more importantly, we're excited to solve problems.
Awesome. Well, you guys, let Cory and his teams help you solve your problems. The faster you get your problems solved, the more you can focus on the things that you need to focus on. You should be focusing on the things that bring you joy. You should be focusing on the things that only you are amazing at, that bring you money, that make you mountains of money. And eventually that allow you to have the time to do the things that you love. So we're going to have Cory's information below. Stay tuned. We are going to have Cory on for a Facebook Live. So any questions you guys have, again, think about your pain points. And if it's something that Cory and his team can help you with, we will dish that information to you. And here is to growing faster. And again, we always teach the fastest way to get to any destination is to ask someone who's already there for directions. Cory is there, you guys. Cory has the solutions. Let's help yourselves by getting those problems solved. Reach out to Cory and his team. Cory, thanks for having an abundance of giving. I love what you're doing for your employees, yourself. I love what you're doing for chiropractors. I love that you love what I love. We're happy to go on this journey with you, man, and we look forward to collaborating even more in the future with our docs here in this group.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the time.